What is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show live. And this morning, like every single morning, we have two incredible women joining us. We are spotlighting in partnership with ICE Mortgage Technologies. We're spotlighting women who are making a difference, who are making advancements in the mortgage technology and driving our industry forward. And this morning, more than ever, we are talking about something that is so relevant, so important, so impactful that you are not going to want to miss this. You're going to want to share this with your entire organization. You're going to want to tag all your leaders because I am joined by Rhiannon Bolen and Mary Solon, who are both VP sales leaders within the ICE Mortgage Technology company. And we're going to be talking about the secrets of creating strong relationships, which all of us need more of right now. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? It is time to shred. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And again, welcome back to the Shred Show Live. I am joined by Rhiannon Bolen and Mary Solon. Their last names rhyme. I love when it makes it easy for me. That's just so much fun. But they are both VP sales leaders within the ICE industry or within the ICE company. See, I can't even think of it this morning. I'm literally that excited about this because as we were talking, everybody, if you're listening this morning, what I'm so excited about is all of us know within our industry, there's a little bit of fear going on. There's some things that are going on right now where relationships are everything. And this morning, both Rhiannon and Mary are going to be sharing some of the secrets. And we want to be an open book. We want to share these things with you because we want to help you create stronger relationships with your customers, with your clients. More than ever, they're turning to you. And as VP sales executives, these two ladies work with some of the best, some of the top companies in the industry, and they're hearing the concerns, they're hearing the needs. And so they're going to share with you today some of the things you need to be thinking about, how you can strengthen these relationships. So ladies, welcome to the Shred Show, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Josh. We're excited.
Both of you are excited. I am excited for this, and I want to dive right into it because both of you have an incredible background within our industry. Both of you have incredibly successful careers. What got you started? I love hearing the background because none of us, as little kids, we weren't like in high school saying, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be a mortgage professional when I grow up. That's what I want to do. I'm sure neither of you were the same. So what got you started in the industry, and what has helped you get to where you are today? Rhiannon, let's start with you.
Well, I did. I dreamed of it as a child. No, I'm kidding.
There you go.
No, I actually, so I've been in the industry almost 23 years now. I technically was a child of mortgage, let's say. So it kind of actually runs through my blood. My mom was in the mortgage industry, pretty much her whole career, and eventually ended up as a senior executive in the warehouse space before retiring a few years ago. So it's kind of, in my family and my blood, so to speak. I started out on the ops side, ops, underwriting, coordinating, wholesale, moved into working at a mortgage insurance company, PMI at the time, no longer in business, prior to the financial crisis. And at the time, I became aware of a junior sales position that was coming available. And I went into my, what was the then mortgage or the then manager's office and plopped my very thin resume down on his desk, and I asked for the role. And that's how I kind of began on the B2B or business to business sales side. And since that time, I've had various outside strategic enterprise level sales or sales management roles in various aspects of our industry. I've worked in credit risk or mortgage insurance. I've worked on the capital market side. I've worked for a cooperative. I'm now in technology. And I've also been throughout my whole career very involved in the industry. I've been on committees or a board member at state and national levels almost my entire career. Wow. For more years than I can probably count. And I recently received my CMB designation, and I'm very passionate about sponsoring and being involved with helping new candidates for CMBs get their designation as well. And I have the very good fortune of working with my good friend Mary here at ICE.
Wow, that was Mary. Good luck. I don't even know where you're going to go with that, but no.
Well, I mean, look at the energy she just gives us. I mean, it just rubs off on you. I honestly think the first time that we really spent any time with each other, The really true story. We were getting off the elevators, going to our separate rooms, and they said, "I love you." And I'm like, "Oh, it's a little early in the relationship." But that's exactly how I felt. It was just a really strong connection.
Yeah.
And this is how she is with her customers and her friends. So it's my pleasure to work with her. So my story is a little bit different. I actually worked in insurance for about 20 years.
Wow.
As an executive, and I was working for Nationwide, and I started working in our corporate strategy department. And my role was to help all the business units kind of really get a format and a structure for strategic planning, really looking out at the future. And one of those businesses that we had was mortgage. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. Of course, we had a mortgage, but that's really all I knew about it. Well, long story short, I found my way to mortgage and became the leader over all different facets of our operations and sales. So I was fortunate to work with a president who really believed it was important for all of his leaders to get experience in all the different areas. So he moved us around a lot. A lot of fun, challenging at times. Of course, you just kind of like, okay, I got my groove. And then, okay, now you're going to do this instead. So that was really great. And, that was really how I found my way to mortgage. And then how I found my way to ICE was through a couple of acquisitions, but it was also through a lot of things that people are going through right now. We had made a decision that we were no longer going to be in the mortgage space. So I found myself in a spot of trying to determine what did I want to do next. And one of the things that I valued so much was the relationships that we had with our partners. We didn't call them partners. And those partners taught me many, many things about how to work with customers and how not to. And so I thought, you know what, I'd like to give back on the other side. So I found myself on the other side, really supporting customers instead of being being on the other side and being the customer that has a vendor supporting you or a partner supporting you. So that's how I found my way here.
That is absolutely amazing. And both of you ladies have such a well-rounded background of experience that you have learned, you have grown in different opportunities. And of course, now with ICE mortgage technology, Mary, you actually mentioned something that I want to kind of stay with. And I want to kind of stay with you for a second on this one, because both of you within your roles within ICE mortgage technology, you work closely, like very, very close with some of the top, literally, I said that in my intro, you work with the top companies throughout the mortgage industry. How do you build trust? You mentioned calling them partners, not just clients, not just customers, but how do you build that trust with your partners that really allows you to create strong relationships?
It might sound kind of cliche, but it's really important to listen. And so when I start working with a customer, they don't need to know yet about me, about our company, about what we're doing. I need to know about what's going on with them. And I establish that relationship. So in every conversation, I try to make sure I step back and say, what's going on with you right now? What are your strategic initiatives for the next 3 years? What are you focused on for the next year? And honestly, that can change on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. So really making sure that at every point of the conversation that I start with them, I always try to step back and ask what's going on with you. And I think you can tell, we're relationship people. So I don't want to just know about business. I want to know, how are things going in life and find that connection point that we might have something in common or not. And then I'm learning new things from people. But then it's about being honest with the communication that you're delivering. We don't always have 100% positive information that we're sharing with each other. And so just making sure that I'm their advocate and they recognize I'm their advocate, but I'm always try to be as honest as I possibly can with the information that I'm sharing and making sure that they have the information that they need to make decisions.
Rhiannon, what about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mary, about this. I think the mortgage industry at its core is a relationship business. But I also think that B2B, business to business, is a very different animal than B2C. You are dealing with not only the people in the industry, but a living and breathing business that ebbs and flows with the crazy industry that's, as we know, ever changing. But it's still about relationships. I think as partners to our clients, it's incumbent upon us to know what's going on in the industry. I think we should have a broad knowledge of industry processes and functions and legislative and advocacy issues and trends so that you can engage with your clients holistically, so that they know that you already have awareness about what might be happening inside of their business. And then from there, you really have to spend the time to understand. And the clients that Mary and I deal with, you really have to understand at a deep level and sometimes departmentally what is going on with our clients' goals and objectives, what the challenges are that they face, how and where they want to grow, and even personally. So kids, family, passions. And this does all take a tremendous amount of time. But I truly believe that the effort that you put into this, if you were in a B2B role like this over your career, pays off in spades. Because I know that no matter what product or what company that I may be representing, and fortunate enough to do that with ICE today, my clients, if they know what I do and what I'm representing is something that they think that they might need, I will be the first one that they call. And I think that clients with whom you've developed trust will always feel like they can come to you because, to Mary's point, they know that you're going to shoot them straight. And sometimes, by the way, the hard part about building relationships in a sales role, and especially in strategic sales like this, is you have to have the patience to wait until there is something of true value that you can bring to the table. So it's all about just waiting, being patient, listening, learning. But for me, I mean, I've always had a laser focus on wanting my clients to be successful.
Both of you ladies have talked about listening. Like that is something that I think, Mary, you mentioned this. It may sound cliche, but it's like, it's not, because in this world that both of you had mentioned this, the mortgage industry, if you've been in it for any amount of time, the one constant is change. It's always changing. It's always like, especially right now with all the fear, with all the uncertainty, having an advocate. Mary, you mentioned this word that I think is so critical, having an advocate, having somebody that is on your side, that you can trust and rely on, and give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, hey, I'm going to shoot it straight forward here. That's what we need more of. There are so many tech companies. There's so many like, well, things are still good, and they're trying to sugarcoat everything. It's like, is that really doing the good that our partners, as Mary referred to, is that doing them the good that they really are in need of? Which I want to talk about that a little bit more. I want to dive a little more into this, because what is your process? What is both of your process when it comes to getting to know the business objectives of your partners? Rhiannon, let's start with you on this.
Honestly, I have a pretty simple answer for this, because we've kind of already alluded to some of this, but I think it comes from researching the client, researching their profile, the decision makers, their outward initiatives, and then as you're interacting with them, having a well-crafted questioning strategy that enables you to listen and learn. And I think sometimes in sales, I think it gets misrepresented because you're selling something or talking about your product or your service, when truly what I think makes a great strategic salesperson is their ability to shut up.
That's so true. Sometimes that's simply it. You just got to shut up. Mary, what are your thoughts on this when it comes to getting to know the business objectives of your partners?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've always tried to do is, as we're having those discussions, because they do we try to make those a little more formal, right? So we're not just going in and wasting their time. And, you're talking about top executives in companies. You want to make sure that you're giving them valuable information and they're spending their time, that it's worth it, and they want to do this again with you and the company, right? So I try to make it easy for the customer. I try to recognize what I've heard, which may not be that much yet, but at least I know a few things about what their challenges might be, what their needs might be, and then I try to craft that agenda and say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, but now give me your feedback. What have I missed? What other area do you want to cover? And as I mentioned, the very first thing that I always start with, no matter what, is tell us what's going on with you. It's an update on how things are going. What's changed? Has anything changed since the last time we did this strategic discussion? Because you'll find something out that will then be helpful throughout the discussion that you can then relate to them about. That's what it's about, is really making sure that you're intimately understanding their company, their business, and what their strategic goals are.
Yep.
Okay, I love this. So I want to. You guys have both kind of touched on this, but I want to go a step further, because you both have mentioned the needs, some of the challenges. But what are those needs? What are some of those? What are you doing to help those partners overcome some of those challenges? Mary, what are some of the needs that you're hearing right now, specifically within the industry?
Yeah, well, really, honestly, the big thing, Josh, is reevaluating their business models. What is bringing success right now? What may not be? Obviously a lot of customers are having to shift resources from one area to another area, going through some really, really tough times and decisions. But recognizing that they want to stay focused on what's going to help them be successful in the future. So again, shifting business models is happening. Every customer is talking about how can they streamline their process? How can they get to the data that they need to be able to make faster decisions, get those loans to close faster, have more improved quality, making sure that, the loans that they're delivering or they're originating are, without errors with it, which are so important. And recognizing that they really want to make sure that their team members are focused on the right activity, right? So, make sure that they are focused on the exceptions versus, really going through an entire file, but really recognizing where they can focus on, oh, I need to make sure that this has been done properly. Everything else has been automated or streamlined. Now I can really focus on those key areas that will make a person be more efficient in what they're doing. The pressure is intense, right? On either cost to originate or cost to service. But one thing about this industry is people are passionate about industry. You really do become part of it, and knowing what you provide to the entire country in terms of home ownership is so critical. So we all become really passionate about what we do, and collaborating is so important. We make sure that as we're talking with customers, if we see that, one of these other customers could actually help this customer with something, they like to network. They like to collaborate. So we try to also be kind of that funnel in getting customers to communicate with each other.
I think that's one of those things that is so critical for the future success of our entire industry. But when you have an organization like ICE Mortgage Technology that is willing, of course, both of you as VP sales leaders are serving and working side by side with the top companies in the industry. It's amazing to see that these companies, to your point, Mary, are willing to collaborate. They understand. That's why top companies get to where they are. That's why ICE is such a critical piece of it all, is because they're bringing those clients together. They're having those discussions. They're saying, what, all of us, yes, we understand difficulty there. There's lots of fear, but together we can get through this. Together we can even come out better if we do collaborate. So Rhiannon, same when it comes to that, what are some of the needs that you're hearing? And then what are how are you helping them overcome those challenges right now?
Yeah, I agree with much of what Mary said. I always say it kind of takes a little bit of crazy to be in this crazy business, right? All of us, but we do. It does get into your core.
It's crazy passion, right? Crazy passion. That's what it is.
But, it obviously goes without saying, we're in a period of significant adjustment right now. And Mary and I have been through this before, and a lot of us have, right? It's a very cyclical industry. But nevertheless, it's not easy for a lot of folks. I think empathy does go a long way. Clients are struggling with a significant drop in volume and the very real situation of having to maybe restructure or rethink their business. You also have that the combination of that and valuable resources leaving the industry, either because they decide to retire or they're leaving because they were let go. And so at the same time, you have people that are still working in the industry that are dealing with less capacity and less resources, but the same or more amount of work, right? And arguably, Mary and I have been in this industry a long time. We've been a fairly antiquated business, especially when it comes to technology. I do believe that we are kind of at the precipice of this shifting a little bit. And I would say that, conversations being had right now, while much of it's still kind of in discussion around, okay, what are we going to look like in 2023? I think that's starting to be discussed. And they're starting to put resources towards how and when they can focus on projects to enhance or streamline their existing processes, much to what Mary was saying. How do they improve their client interactions? And then how do they allow their employees to focus on strategic types of work rather than sort of mundane activities, as I would say? So that's how they're considering technology use cases these days, right? And I think with volume shifting, things starting to slow down a bit, while it's been a significant adjustment for everyone, now people are starting to look at, okay, how do we start thinking proactively? So we're working through this adjustment period. How do we start thinking proactively? And I think our clients are lifting their heads up and they're starting to see what that future is going to look like and how their business and their processes could be improved through the use of technology. And that's kind of where Mary and I get excited about being engaged with our clients right now.
So you mentioned something right there, Rhiannon, that I want to switch gears just a tiny bit, because you, of course, ICE mortgage technology. Technology is a big part of what you guys do. Adopting new technology can be a journey. I don't want to call it a challenge, but I want to call it a journey. And it's important for their lenders to trust their technology partners. Like that's a big part of what we're talking about here, that trust. How do you help them navigate the process? How do you maintain and even retain those strong relationships and partnerships with your clients through that journey of technology adoption?
We've talked a lot about having, those strong relationships, the trust that you've established, right? But it also comes with having regular dialogue with your clients, asking them good, to Mary's point, open questions. How are things going on in your business? What's going on with you right now, and where are you headed? And I think in doing that and listening, you're going to find out what their current state and their future vision is. And it helps you or us to get clear about what they do and what they don't need. And that enables us to kind of focus on, okay, what's relevant. And then from there, I would say, I'm going to give our team a plug here, because we have an extreme focus on teamwork and collaboration here at ICE. So we all work together to provide relevant information, details, demos, whatever it is that we're doing with a client and how we engage, because no one wants to waste anybody's time. To Mary's point, we're working with some very senior execs, it's like, bullet point strategy, right? So we're very fortunate that we work with some extremely driven, talented, knowledgeable folks, and we collaborate together to bring the information about what, is the relevant offering. And I say relevant and highlight that, because that's really important for our clients. And then try to bring some clarity around that. What does that look like? What can you do for your business? What's the implementation going to be? So I think that's how we can make a difference for our clients, at least here at ICE Mortgage Technology.
And I think that's how you are making such a difference. And Mary, to that same point, Rhiannon mentioned something. I think there are discussions, and you mentioned honesty earlier, just being very black and white with your clients. There are times when it comes to adoption, when it comes to streamlining, back to your point earlier, Mary, where sometimes it's consulting with the client, be like, you know what, maybe this piece isn't like exactly what you're, maybe it's like looking at the entire gamut and saying, how do we better make this, or how do we make this more efficient? So what are some of the things that you're seeing, and what are some of the things that you're doing to help maintain those relationships and helping them with that technology journey?
Sure. And Rhiannon really has touched on it, but we do have an incredible team that supports us. So as we're working with those customers, we may identify one or two needs, and then we bring in the team that helps to support talking in more depth about those products, being able to do those demonstrations with the customer about those products, and really making sure that they're engaging their team. Which is so important, that it's not just, one individual making a decision, but it's a group of individuals on their team. Because somebody may be thinking about something that's a true, very challenging pain point that somebody else may have no idea about. So we ask them, make sure you're bringing in a broad audience that can help to identify where things can be streamlined. And then to Rhiannon's point, we're going to make sure we're bringing the right product and not 10 products to the table. Won't do anybody any good. So it's really being very focused on what do we hear from them, and then bringing in the group that helps to support that, and who are just incredible teammates.
I love that. You see my sign behind me. Teamwork makes the dream work. Like that. Both of you have mentioned a team, and it really is. ICE Mortgage Technology has a phenomenal team, but it's also, when it comes to working with those partners, it's building a team that can support their needs and that really understands and says, hey, you know what? Like, this is what's going on in our organization now. And to what we've all mentioned, things are changing so often, and sometimes it's like, hey, we need another player of this team. We need somebody else who can help us through this portion of it. Now, I want to say with something you said, Mary, because you literally hit something that I think is so critical when it comes to technology. What technology are your customers really finding to be most helpful in today's market?
Sure. Yeah. Really great question, Josh. Every customer is talking about data. How do I get data, right? So, we have our AIQ product, and we, to people who may not know what does AIQ mean, it's really our OCR and data products that we bring to the table. But really it comes down to, what are you trying to solve? What are you trying to do with that data? Because we can give you all this data, and then what? So that's nice. It doesn't do you any good if you're not going to do something with it, if you're not going to change the process, if you're not going to change the behavior. So really recognizing what are the goals that they're trying to achieve. So for example, it could be that they want their underwriters to stay focused on the exceptions, right? And not having to underwrite a complete file. So, we have our AIQ analyzer products that help do that. It could be that it's really just getting your folder in good working order. We get as we all know, it's an incredible amount of documentation. Well, you need to be working from the right documents. So really recognizing that, something that's helping you identify those documents is going to be the right product. And then, the other piece that people are talking about is e-close. Everybody wants close. And, certainly I think the pandemic kind of sped that up for all of us, which is great. But really, that's the other topic that customers are really wanting to talk about. And then at the end of the day, I know we talked about it, but just streamlining the process so they can do more with the people that they have today and that they're better prepared for that next wave of volume. And manage that in the most efficient way possible.
Hold on. I love the positivity you just ended there with, Mary, because the wave is coming. Like, I know we're all in this lull right now, but we've all done this long enough to know those who are willing to put in the work now, to stick it out, to work with incredible organizations like ICE, to find the efficiencies. We're going to make it through this, ladies and gentlemen. Whether interest rates go to 8, 9, 10, whatever they do. I mean, back, in the 80s, they were in the 16, 17, like we as an industry, as long as we collaborate, we prepare for this together, and we utilize the technologies that are going to help us become most efficient and truly serve the needs of the home buyer. That's what we're all in. We want to help the American achieve the dream of home ownership. As long as we're focused on those needs and we're working with our lenders, we're working with our partners, we can achieve that. So, Rhiannon, what are some of the technologies your customers are finding to be the most helpful right now in this market?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Mary. OCR, data extraction. I guess the way I would sum that up is when you think about our most valuable resources in the industry. So they're the ones that we need to make strategic decisions, underwriters and processors and closers that. Ultimately, what they're doing in the loan manufacturing process is critical to being able to sell your loan in the secondary market and not have it come back to you, right? It's about how a company generates money and how they retain the money that they made from selling their loans, right? So, using technology, because those folks are so critical and need to make strategic decisions about, what's happening in all of the loans that are coming through a pipeline. Enabling them to, like, as an example, why does someone have to push a button to order credit? It doesn't make it's a mundane process that is what we're trying to solve for. Why does there need to have such a manual process for somebody that is in a strategic role that needs to make decisions around the viability of the loans that they're selling to investors? So that's what we're trying to solve for. I also think that, Mary mentioned data. In the context of data and data being so much more critical to all industries today. I mean, we are owned by ICE, Intercontinental Exchange.
Yep.
So they're a massive data company, right? And it really is all about data. But how you use the data to make better business decisions based on what you see in the data is also, I think, very critical. And when you think about MBA stats, right? They come out with their origination, their study, cost to originate studies, and you look at those graphs, right? And you look at the tiny little piece of that represents technology, and the rest of it is, labor costs, right? And overhead. That part of it can be shrunk in some capacity by the use of technology and how you are making business decisions to have your business run, right?
100%.
And let your employees do the strategic activities that they have been hired to do. So that's what we're trying to solve for.
And that's just it. It's you continue. Why I love these conversations, why these are so insightful and so impactful. Sometimes as an industry, we get so distracted with technology, and sometimes we get distracted with tech stacks and this and that. But both of you have mentioned, like, that's why being the advocates that you are, having those relationships, having those trusted relationships can be so critical in a market like we're in today. Like I literally, I just keep thinking more and more about that. That's why having somebody who we can turn to, I think is just, it's so important within our industry right now. I want to talk about this because, again, I've mentioned this, we've all mentioned this, through the difficult challenges that we're facing in our industry right now. In any upturn, downturn, there's always opportunities. Like, and again, you ladies have seen it as much as I have. There's always opportunities in markets like this. So what are some of the opportunities that you both see on the horizons for your clients, for mortgage lenders in the industry right now? Mary, let's start with you on this one.
Sure. Certainly the streamlining of the processes and continuing to focus on the customer needs. Whatever customer it is, whether it's a correspondent partner, whether it's a servicing client, whether it's the end consumer, and really recognizing, what is your strategic focus, and not doing 100 things, right? It's really important to focus on what are those top 3, top 5 things that we want to do to really pinpoint and be successful with what we're going to do for the next 3 years. So, I'm obviously, I came from a world of corporate strategy at one point. So I'm a firm believer in having your corporate strategic plan. And then you revisit that on a quarterly basis to see where those opportunities have shifted. So, you have the opportunity to shift your business model right now. You have the opportunity to grow your market share. You may be in a situation where you can acquire some businesses, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a way to continue to collaborate, right, for all, across all companies and organizations.
I love that. And that's just it. You've mentioned collaboration so much. I talk about it so frequently. Collaboration is what I truly see as one of the top ways that we will continue to thrive as an industry. And the more we collaborate, the more we support each other, the more we serve one another, is how we really, really come out of this, whatever you want to call it, the recession, downturn. We come out of this stronger as an industry. Rhiannon, what are your thoughts? What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing on the horizon for mortgage lenders and partners?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and we mentioned a couple things before. We talked about, streamlining the processes, using OCR, data extraction, e-close. I mean, when you think about e-close, it's been being talked about since the dawn of time. It's been out there for so long. And I think we're really at a point where that is becoming a true end-to-end reality. Like you can get there now. And when you think about it, like we're coming into a purchase market around e-close, right? Like how amazing would it be if the loan officer and the realtor and the borrower are standing out in front of the house they're about to buy? They close their loan and they hand them the keys. Why can that not happen? It can happen. So I think that is a real, opportunity that as we get there. There's a lot of legislative hurdles and different things that we've had to work through, but I think we're close. I would also add that because technology lives and breathes, and it changes constantly. I mean, we are constantly every quarter and every month making releases and updates and enhancements and different things. If you don't have a defined technology strategy for how you're flowing with it, and you're not using the enhancements that are being made in technology or the updates or opportunities where there's, and certainly we know, Mary and I know, these are not easy things to accomplish because you have a whole process that you built. And sometimes that means you're going to have to change process. So we completely understand that. But understanding the opportunities as technology changes, and then also how that can get implemented. The implementation is so critical. And how do you build that into your business to effectively use it?
Ooh, you were talking there just a second ago. It gave me goosebumps talking about the future, like what's possible. And I'm like, dang, like that's why the ICE Mortgage Technology team, like you're working together. Both of you ladies have shared so many points on this that I'm just like, yeah, that's why we need more of these discussions. There's so many people, there's so many incredible women who have such knowledge to share that are impacting and changing our industry. So you ladies have been amazing. And I know we've gone over time here, but I've got one last question, because both of you have mentioned passion. Both of you have had incredible careers within this industry. And I want to, for all those women out there, what advice would you give to them who are looking to either start, maybe they're like, hey, I need to make a change. I need, what's new, what can help me, get to a new stage of my life? Or how can women continue to grow their careers within the mortgage space? Mary, what are your thoughts?
For me, what's been critical is having those mentorships and networking. So it's so important to build those relationships for yourself, and to have those, again, trusted people that you go to for advice, for bouncing ideas off, for helping mentor you. And there's so many ways and avenues to do that. But, it takes initiative. So you have to do that. At the end of the day, you own your own career. I'm a firm believer of that. The second piece that I would say, and I'm sure this is, it means it's in any industry, right? But I try to come at everything that I do from the customer's lens and throughout my entire career. And a customer could be, for example, when I was in corporate strategy, it was the business units that I was working with. They were my customer. So always trying to look at it and look at through their lens and have that empathy. So to me, being successful means focusing on the customer and thinking about the customer in any decision that you're making, because somebody's going to be impacted. So how do you either overcome that? How do you motivate that? How do you work through that? And then and Rhiannon has said it so much today as well, but this is an industry that is constantly evolving and changing, and you have to be comfortable with that. Or learn ways to be comfortable with that. But you have, and so what you may think, oh my gosh, we finally solved for this. Well, guess what? Tomorrow you didn't. So you need to make sure that you're constantly looking at your processes and be the change advocate. Like being a change advocate on any team and doing it the right and thoughtful way can really help you in your career. And then I mentioned this in the beginning, but I'm a firm believer in doing lots of different things so you get perspectives of all those different jobs and seeing it through your peers or your team members or your leaders way that they're looking at things. So again, having that empathy and understanding, I think, really helps you as you think about a opportunity or a career path in mortgage.
I love it. Rhiannon, what are your thoughts on those who are, what advice would you give to those women who are looking to grow within our industry?
Well, I have to say this is a true passion of mine.
You don't say. You can't tell by any means. There's no way you could possibly tell that.
I'm the daughter of a mortgage exec, right, and grew up in the industry as I mentioned before. And then when I got in the industry, I actually noticed some differences between women getting opportunities for advancement and career progression, and for me, it led me to want to create change or create opportunity in that space. So selfless plug here, but we actually founded as part of the Texas Mortgage Bankers Association, the Texas Women Mortgage Bankers. And we started that thing in 2019 with about 45 women. We're up to over 500 now. Wow. In just a couple of years. So it's an incredible endeavor that we've all embarked on, completely grassroots volunteer organization. But we have events throughout the year where we're talking about, career advancement and career progression and finding your voice. Empower is a huge, just powerful, organization with the MBA that is a, definitely something that I've been involved with as well. So true passion of mine. And so I would say for the advice I would give for newer to mortgage women coming into the industry, and I mentioned it before in my kind of bio when we introduced, was go for what you want. Go for the role that you want to get, and don't worry about every box not being checked. And I'd also encourage young women to not be concerned with being direct in their communications. I myself, growing up in the mortgage industry, had challenges with finding my comfort level with how I naturally communicate, which is being direct. So being direct and being professional is okay. And don't be concerned with how you're communicating in that way. And lastly, and I think this is so critical, I encourage women to find opportunities to lead early and often in whatever capacity they can find. That could be through a volunteer organization, an industry association, or within the current company that they work, but look for those opportunities and lead where you can and develop that skill set. So that's what I would say.
Ladies, thank you. Wow. This is truly why I love what I do, because this discussion that we just had was one of those that will impact lives, that all the women of the mortgage industry who are listening, who are, maybe they're struggling right now, this helps them see two incredibly powerful women, two intelligent women who are sharing so much. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. This was truly amazing. We shared so many secrets for all of you mortgage lenders, for all you companies out there. There was just so much in this throughout this entire conversation. Go back and rewatch. Go back and listen to what Mary and Rhiannon have shared, because it truly was one of those episodes. And this is exactly why we have partnered with ICE to do this, because there are so many incredible women in the mortgage industry who are empowering, who are impacting, and who are making a difference. So ladies, thank you so much. This was truly incredible.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everybody who joined us for today. Like I mentioned, I grew. I love doing this because I get something out of it. I know each and every one of you got something out of this today. So make sure you go out and share this with all of your those who are in your organizations. And as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.